The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
In the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, we have a right to life, we have a right to defend life.
This legislation is centered on meeting the needs of Idaho families.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
The courts have long held that our ability to transfer title on real property benefits society as a whole.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
I feel like we're back to an unappointed board that gets to decide who is essential and who is non-essential.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
And for me, it's about a couple things. It's about food security, it's about national security, and it's about preserving American exceptionalism.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, March 25, the 25th of March, 2024. My name is Matt Edwards. Welcome to Idaho Signal. You know, last Friday, if you didn't watch last Friday's program on the border crisis, the invasion, and all the things that are, and how it is affecting Idaho, I encourage you to go back and watch episode 55. 55. Wow, this is episode 56. So welcome to the program, everybody. As you can see, I don't know if you can see here, I've got, I teased this on Friday as well. Our Idaho Signal shirts have arrived. We have a very limited supply, and we're going to let you know how to get them a little later in the show. But they also have the, where is it? The cool emblem on the side there. Anyway, this is an important program today. This is going to be the final week. Apparently, we are looking at possibly the final week of the legislative session. There have been many bills that have been going back and forth. Some have been pulled back into committee. Some have reemerged as watered down or waterboarded versions of former good bills. Some bills have gotten better. Some bills have disappeared once again into the ether. And there's a lot to catch up on. But I know that there are two specific issues going through the system today that were in front of committees this morning that we want to keep you abreast of. And we have to at first issue a simple warning about at least the first half of today's show. We're going to be showing some graphic adult content, and some may argue that it's not, and for those reasons, because some people don't think it's graphic adult content, we're going to show it. Because if there's an argument on whether or not it is, then we need to build a consensus. So today we are talking about the library bill, House Bill 710. It passed the House a short time ago. It was in front of the Senate last week as they had a hearing on the matter, and then they went to close out the hearing and the debate. And the chairman decided that there wasn't enough time to do so before they went to the Senate floor. So they adjourned for the day and took it up this morning with Senator Cindy Carlson presenting the bill this morning. We are going to get to that in just a moment. But what's shocking, what's absolutely shocking, and there isn't enough attention paid to this because the Democrats are in the minority party when it comes to this state and the electorate, but they seem to wield a lot of power. And you see a lot of people registered as Republicans who vote for Democrats. You see a lot of people registered as Republicans who run and get elected to office who still vote with Democrats. And so this is a big problem when it comes to figuring out which way Idaho is going. And so we're going to focus today a little bit on Senator Melissa Wintrow because I got an email. She sent out her newsletter, and in her newsletter over the weekend, she titled it "Cruelty is the Worst Kind of Sin." And this is in reference to House Bill 668, which prohibits all public funding for gender-affirming care. These are her words, gender-affirming care. Let me go on the record here that when you are affirming somebody's mental illness, somebody's gender dysphoria, you are not affirming, it's not care. It's not affirming care. Okay. Gender affirming care is taking the hard road and saying to the child that they are not the opposite sex and that we are here to affirm their actual gender. So that aside, that sort of language aside, her email is filled with language that is just bizarre here. She says that this bill, House Bill 668, is plainly unconstitutional discrimination on the basis of sex, as it denies trans people access to the exact same treatments that will still be available to cisgender Idahoans. Oh boy. First, as an aside, cisgender, such an offensive term. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know where that word came from and why people use it. It's disgusting. As it denies trans people access to the exact same treatments. Quote unquote cisgender Idahoans going in for sex change operations to be paid for by the government. That's the whole point. It doesn't matter what you think in your mind. If you are expecting the government to pay for you to change sexes, that is prohibited. If you want to do it on your own dime, go right ahead. But public funding for this, for whatever reason you think in your mind, is now no longer going to be is going to do it. Okay. She then says down here below, court battle in front of us. Unfortunately, we will have to fight 668 in court. I have contacted an attorney who is already putting together a case and looking for plaintiffs. Folks, this is your elected representative getting ready to sue the government because she expects the taxpayer to pay for sex change operations. I told you folks, that every time these people stand up and say, this is going to bring about a lawsuit, it feels like a threat. And when people sit down and they're elected and they go, this might bring about a lawsuit. And then they put out a communication that says, I have contacted an attorney. Well, then that's a threat. And I don't know why threats against the people are being taken so lightly. She just threatened and she's acted upon it. She's contacted an attorney and they're looking for plaintiffs. So it doesn't even mean that there is somebody that wants to sue. But she's going to go out there and sue and look for it. This is awful. These are threats. These are the Democrats threatening. And then people who run as Republicans, people who vote as Republicans, championing this garbage. Well, here she was this morning. Well, let's play the full clip. This morning in the Senate State Affairs Committee, here is Melissa Wintrow questioning Senator Cindy Carlson about House Bill 710, which Carlson is sponsoring on the Senate side, which would put into place a mechanism for parents to protest the placement of pornographic material, and we're going to get into that. Warning. We're going to get into that. for restricting the placement of the pornographic material in libraries in the kids section for kids and minors to discover. So here is Melissa Wintrow this morning questioning Senator Cindy Carlson.
Wintrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Carlson. I think the thing I've been thinking about since the testimony was, like, how do you actually determine what's adult? Because I think we agree there's no pornography in the library. So we're trying to identify material based on content that someone perceives as adult where somebody might not perceive as adults. So I'm just still kind of confused how we come up with that other than constitutional kind of provisions.
Senator Carlson.
Chairman Guthrie and Senator Wintrow. I think that most children, that the confusing for most people is probably in their teen year. Like, so some teens might be 16 going on 30, some teens might be 16 going on 10, and that is the problem. But we have clarified that adults are 18 and over. So if parents want their children to have access to this material, then they just allow their children to do it by allowing them to have access to the books that are in the adult section per se.
So what was clearly shocking here was the presumption that Senator Wintrow says, oh, there's no porn in the library. We can all agree to that. We can all agree to that. As if porn is only limited to Penthouse magazine. When this issue first erupted many moons ago, parents, concerned citizens, were showing up to their libraries, to their library trustee meetings. And some of them are extremely articulate. And others are not only articulate, but offer up fantastic analogies. And if you know me, I love a good analogy. This one is a little hard to swallow. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let's bring it back. Warning. Yes. Let's just play the warning here. If we don't laugh, we cry. And I'm not sobbing on camera. I'm not going to sob on camera because this is serious stuff. A concerned citizen showed up at the Community Library Network, which is a network of libraries in North Idaho, and she had a few minutes to discuss what she found in the library. Let's roll that.
Thank you. I warn this book is pornographic for those who do not want to be exposed. You say that you have not moved any books since the new materials policy, i.e. porn, and that you must look at material as a whole, not individual passages, when deciding if a book is pornographic and should be in the minor section. Pacific Justice Institute sent you a letter encouraging you can move these books from the minor section. Porn is porn. Respectfully, here is an example to help you understand and appeal to your conscience and common sense. It's like the library taking a glass of water with a piece of poop in it, as demonstrated by my candy bar, then saying to the kids and their parents, there's only a piece of poop in it, so therefore it's still good to drink. Would anyone here drink water with poop in it? Why then would you think it's okay to give kids books with porn, however big or small? Now, this book, A Court of Silver Flames, is more like 64 pieces of poop loaded into the water for our kids to consume. 64 pages of explicit, mostly pornographic content. It's labeled adolescent in the system, and it is available for kids as young as 12. Has a mix of adult and juvenile placements showing the adult content and is checked out at most libraries. Disturbing excerpts from porn-filled page 516 to 517. Nesta ground her aching nipples into the wood surface, savoring the brutal crush. The liquid slide of his cock into her sounded obscenely. His balls brushed against her. exquisite, punishing thrust slammed so deep he hit her innermost wall, and her eyes rolled back into her head. He became savage, unrelenting. Nesta knew she would bruise, loved that she would bruise. I like it when you ride me hard every time my body is sore. I think of you, of your cock. I love being so covered in your seed that it leaks out of me for ages afterward. I love feeling it slide down my thighs and knowing you left your mark in me. He blew out, pounding wildly now. Cassian came with a roar, pulse of his cock spurting deep into her. His seed was again running down her thighs until he slid his finger through a stream of it and brought it up to the spot at the apex of her sex, smearing his wetness there. The American College of Pediatricians stated June 2016, sexual predators have purposely exposed children to pornography for the purpose of grooming children for sexual exploitation. Let's not make them susceptible to those who would use this exposure to prey upon their innocence. The water is contaminated. Over a year we have asked, we have supported the library, just stop giving this to kids.
Okay. So what was the title of that book? I think our producers have been looking up to see if that particular book, A Court of Silver Flames, is still in the public libraries. And there it is. It is still in the library. Now, it could still be in there, but where is it categorized? What's the category? Is this still in the kids section? Is that young adult fiction? So it's still in the young adult section, at least according to the website. It'd be interesting to go into these libraries and see where these books are. Okay, so now you're saying to yourself, okay, you know, that sort of book, which is a novel, I would imagine, that has many graphic scenes in it, is probably not appropriate for an underage reader. But does that classify as pornography? Because when we think of pornography, we generally think of images, right? We think of scenes, we think of things that are, well, now you need age verification on a website to go visit this stuff. And so maybe you're still thinking, well, this isn't generally pornography per se, as we've come to know it. But Anna Miller, who is no longer with the Idaho Freedom Foundation, but she was working on a huge project last year, I believe, maybe 2 years ago now. And she was over at the Idaho Freedom Foundation. And she published an expose, she published an investigative journalism article. Idaho school libraries promote radical sexual agendas and pornographic material. And let's go full screen on this. We don't have to scroll easy now. Yeah, let's go right there. She says that Idaho school libraries have become facilitators for a national far-left agenda that warps both sex and gender through exposure to pornographic material as well as noxious propaganda. Let's hold it right there. The public commenter in that clip that we just showed you read to you the warning from I forget what it was from, but about what this type of stuff, how this type of stuff is used by sexual predators to groom children, to get them desensitized to sexualness, to graphic sexual content. By using graphic sexual content, it desensitizes them in order for them to then move the bar and then for them to eventually prey on them or God knows what else. It's horrific. And this is a fact. This is a fact that this is what this stuff is used for. If you start to scroll down, this article, and we'll post the link, but this article seems to suggest that this is now here's a few books. Now, if you go onto this website, all of these images are if you click on the left one there, if you just click on it, it'll show you that it was marked as sensitive, so they hide this stuff. So let's open them back up again. And you can see here, the bottom of the first image here from a book called Trans Plus shows a page of transitioning of these naked bodies. There's a book called This Is Gay, Part 1 is called Boy on Boy Sex. Here is a diagram of a boy. If you are also a boy, you are probably aware of which parts feel nice when you touch them. But here's a rough guide. Okay? As we continue scrolling down, there's a graphic novel of The Handmaid's Tale, which is a show that's on Hulu now, showing depiction. There's another book called Be Gay, Do Comics. If you continue scrolling, there's a book called Let's Talk About Sex. Let's talk about it.
I think we agree there's no pornography in the library.
Oh, is that right, Melissa Wintro? There's no pornography in the library? I'm looking at a book called Let's Talk Sex, which literally has a page in the top right corner of your screen that looks pretty graphic to me. And it says, but here's a heads up. Pornography is a performance. It's not a blueprint on how to have sex in real life. Just like an action movie isn't a guide on how to drive a car. Watching porn uncritically can leave you with unrealistic expectations about what to do in the bedroom. So do yourself a favor and consume it with a hefty pinch of salt. At the same time, remember that the people you see on camera are real human beings who deserve your respect. And there they are, with a giant spotlight on them as they engage in pornographic, whatever that is. If you think this stuff was only limited to sex and is therefore limiting, and I'm at a loss for words here, I apologize. But if we continue moving downward here, we see a book called there's that book Trans Plus again that talks about chest binding. Don't be distracted by the transracial person to the right of your screen, Rachel Dolezal. Hello, Rachel. Famous in my area of the woods here. Now, we're showing you all this here because if you continue to scroll down in the article, it said here that IFF received lists of books currently in circulation for 5 school districts: Idaho Falls, Nampa, Pocatello, West Ada, and Twin Falls. Across these districts, these book contains all of these things down here. These districts have many more books with inappropriate content in circulation. And this article, like I said, it goes into extreme graphic, very, very unnormal behaviors. You saw our producer there highlight blood play, whatever that is. I don't want to know what that is, but we're going to continue forward. As you scroll down to some of the other images here, there's the book Let's Talk About It, which is The Teen's Guide to Sex, Relationships, and Being Human. If you see down here, the next graphic after this one is Let's Talk is a page from Let's Talk About It. It talks about monogamous relationships. It talks about polyamorous relationships. And romantic relationships come in different colors. There's no wrong choice, kids. You can explore as many or as few as you fancy. These books are in the libraries, folks. They're in the school districts and they're in the libraries. It goes on to discuss some of the dives into some of the anti-racist baby from Ibrahim's ex Kendi. But as we continue further down the page here, you're going to get to some more about this. Let's talk about it and how to view pornography. A lot of this it's very fascinating that they say that there's no porn in the libraries, yet there's instruction manuals on how to view porn. Melissa Wintro,
we agree there's no pornography in the library.
Is that true? Keep scrolling here, guys. Keep scrolling. You'll see it. There's a person at a computer, and it says a great place to research fantasy and kinks safely is on the internet. Yeah, there it is. A great place to research fantasies and kinks safely is on the internet. There are tons of people and communities out there who share your interests and have all kinds of advice. All right, come back to me for a second here. Do you understand what this is doing? This book in your library is telling your kids to go on the internet, to research pornography sites, and to join communities that share your interests.
I think we agree there's no pornography in the library.
Folks, I don't understand the defense of these books, the defense of libraries, why librarians want to stock the shelves with these books and insist that your children be exposed to them, if you so wish. We have something called Amazon.com. It basically put bookstores out of business. When I was growing up, one of the most fun places to go to was the library, and then also a bookstore where I could actually own the book. Bookstores sometimes had even better, greater selections of things for kids. The Amazon.com, if you need these books for your child, or if you're a psychologist who feels some of these books may be good to help an abused child or somebody going through gender dysphoria or whatever it is, but to have these books stocked in the libraries where children can just stumble upon them without any guidance is atrocious. Absolutely atrocious with our public dollars, where we are supposed to trust our librarians. There's a big problem, folks. This is a big problem. And when you have someone like Melissa Wintrow, literally, show these images here. Show these images. What's the bottom one? That bottom one. You don't have to go full screen. I think people may get it. Depending on your age and where you found it, porn can also be unethical or illegal to watch. So do your research. Look up interviews with your favorite porn performers. Go to the sites they recommend and pay for your porn. Wow. Wow. Rachel, oh my goodness. I keep scrolling. There's a book called SEX. There's a book called SEX. I don't know if we need to show any more of this stuff. The Handmaid's Tale graphic novel is particularly disturbing, because I'm sure in its just written form, it's pretty, how to put on a condom. But the graphic novel, when that woman read the book at the beginning of the show, the clip that we showed at the beginning, imagine if that was turned into a graphic novel, like The Handmaid's Tale was. Imagine if that was turned into a graphic novel and sitting on the shelf. These images here of the Handmaid's Tale sitting on the shelves of your library. Let's scroll down a bit. Here's a rape by a doctor as this woman is undergoing an examination. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you folks, I know we've put a warning on this. You've got instructions on how to pack your underwear if you're feeling like you're a man who needs to be a woman. Packing underwear is just as if more important than the packer you choose. The right kind of underwear will help keep the packer in position. Some of this, I don't even know what some of this language is. It keeps the packer from falling out when going to the restroom, for example. There are specially designed underwear for packing, which are great. So teaching your young boys how to pack away their genitalia because they feel like being a girl. Yeah, there it is. Okay, folks. We're going to put the link in here to this article. I don't know how many people saw it. I know it made the rounds, last year or whenever it was when Anna put it out. And we wish Anna the best. We know she's semi-retired at the moment, and we wish her and her family the best. But this is what they're battling. And do we have any more clips from that hearing? I think there was Senator Taves. Yeah, Senator Taves had who hopefully will join us on the program today. They might be in meetings. We'll see how it goes. You guys know how it goes when we invite guests on and they're ready to come, but everything's live. So, but Senator Taves, and he had a comment to make on this particular bill, and then also Governor Little issued some remarks about this bill and what he hopes to see in it. So let's watch those clips.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out that the only possibility of a penalty for a library, in my understanding, is if there is material that fits the description of Idaho law that is harmful to a minor. So a lot of the other things that I've just seen books, titles of books thrown about that are obviously not that. So I just want to point out that there is no penalty for To Kill a Mockingbird being in our libraries or some of the other things that have been mentioned. But if there are books that fit the criteria of what our statute says, then it seems very legitimate that those should be taken out of our libraries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Carlson, you mentioned that there was some questions from the man on the second floor that were addressed in this. I was just wondering what those were.
Senator Carlson.
I have my notes very detailed, so I'm going to read you what I have. He wants no institution to go bankrupt and no frivolous lawsuits. This will not be, excuse me, I'm sorry, I forgot
Senator
protocol. Senator, Chairman Guthrie and Senator Tays. He has asked that there be no frivolous lawsuits and that he wants no institution to go bankrupt. So this would not allow institutions to go bankrupt. It's just removing the books to a separate area.
Okay, we don't want our libraries to go bankrupt, and we don't want any frivolous lawsuits. Okay, then don't put this stuff in the library. Don't put this stuff in the library, and then we won't go bankrupt. Like, there has to be a punishment for doing this type of stuff. Don't break the law. Don't hurt our kids, and you won't suffer the outcomes. All right, folks. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll try and move on. Thank you. We'll be right back.
The dictionary defines a pledge as something that you give as a sign that you'll keep a promise. As Idahoans, that's what we're looking for in our elected leaders. A sign that they'll keep their word. Talk is cheap, and so are political promises, hidden agendas, and special interests. This is why we created the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge, affirming the values Idahoans have been living by for over 100 years, inspired by the only two documents everyone has agreed to live by. So when an Idaho legislator signs our pledge, inviting voters to publicly hold them accountable, that's what we call political integrity. The pledge restores trust and honesty between voters and their legislators. It means protecting our shared values and ensuring your voice is heard in Boise. And that is priceless. Thank your legislator for having the political courage to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge. And if they haven't, it's time to ask why.
All right, folks, welcome back. We had a comment from a viewer, and I believe it's in that comment section. Is it still there? Yeah, Jackie Davidson down in she's down in Boise. She was running for election in that down there. She says she's used the book Red Hook to testify on 2 bills 2 years in a row. And it's in the teens section. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know about that book, but if you guys want to go check out Red Hood and see what's in that book, I mean, look, this stuff is, we're not making this up, man. We're not making this up. Well, you think we got better? There's better things to do than fight against what should be the obvious, right? I don't want to say more important things, but there are things that we could be focused on if we weren't distracted with this madness. Melissa Wintro, you are wrong. Okay, moving on. But I believe the House and Senate are both out of session. So we've invited Senator Ben Taves, Representative Joe Alfieri to come join us to talk about these 2 different issues here. Representative Joe Alfieri, if he can join us, he asked a few questions this morning in the House State Affairs Committee with regard to a Senate bill that was about election security and so forth. And Secretary Phil McGrain, Secretary of State, I'm sorry, Phil McGrain, yes, it is Phil McGrain, was testifying in front of the committee this morning. But so was this activist who's been watching election integrity. I want to have her introduce herself, and then we can jump right to Representative Heather Scott asking her about what she has witnessed during her time of observing what's going on with our elections. So Jody Arnold here. Let's go to her first.
Chairman, my name's Jody Arnold, and I live in District 23, and I am the Republican representative for Logic and Accuracy Test. As I know, there's no one else but me that has signed up to do that for the whole state. And I would like to have added to the bill, I do appreciate all the work that the Secretary has done, but I would like added to the bill that they test the e-poll books and that they also test for 34901 2B, the unique identifier that's required in law. And I stand for questions.
Okay, and then was it Heather Scott, you guys, or who? No, yeah, about the e-poll book. So if you've been following the election stuff going on, it's like, oh, these machines are connected to the internet and they're subject to hacking and fraud and so forth. But everybody talks about the machines and the ballot tabulators and everything. But one thing that is kind of left out of this are the e-poll books. When you go in to vote these days, you sign in on an iPad or some sort of tablet, and that tablet is connected to the internet, and that tabulates in real time who's coming in to vote. And you sign your name, you check it off, okay, that person's here, and you move on. It shows all of your information. You compare, I believe the person who's verifying the information looks at your ID and everything, and you sign on a poll book, an e-poll book, an iPad tablet device. It's no longer the big books that they print out where you sign in the book, which is what we've been doing forever. And if you attended the GOP caucus in March, that's how you signed in. You signed your name along with your address right there in the book. Now it's all on a tablet. So here she is explaining that the tablets aren't in part of this auditing process or accuracy testing process. Let's listen to that.
Can you explain a little bit more detail the logic and accuracy test, what that means?
Yes, Chairman, Representative. A logic and accuracy test is supposed to test all the machines that are performing in the election. In Canyon County, in November election prior to in October, we tested the machines, and they put all the paper ballots through that they have. They call it a test deck. And in that, all of the patterns that are supposed to be tested for the yes and no's and the candidates came out right. And one of the people that were there, they asked if you could actually put in a copy of the paper ballot and test to see if a forged ballot could go through. And we did that for the standalone scanners that go in the precincts, and then also for the scanner that is the absentee scanner. And the paper ballots were accepted, the photocopied paper ballots. So That is part of the logic and accuracy test that they do for the public. Right now, they do not do an e-poll book test. I did a public records request for Fremont County for the election that they had a special election in August of 2022, and it was supposed to be just Republicans voting for the special election. And I got all of the public records back from the e-poll books, and I did each person to see which, if they were a Republican, Democrat that voted, and I found out that some were allowed to vote that were Democrats, and if they had the e-poll books tested, that wouldn't have happened. It happened to be that the difference between the two candidates in the election, it was less than the number of people that were not Republicans that voted. So that is why I believe that those two things need to be added in law.
Wow. You know, if you were in Idaho paying attention to elections, that made news that there was an elections office in Canyon County. The election office in Canyon County accepted photocopied ballots without detecting that they were fake. This made news. Okay. What was interesting is the Idaho Press. Here's their headline: "A Canyon County machine accepted photocopied ballot, but officials aren't worried. Here's why." Okay. When that article was picked up by MSN, the MSN.com said the exact same thing, that a Canyon County machine accepted a photocopied ballot, but officials aren't worried. Here's why. They published the exact same article. You love how the media just immediately runs cover for this kind of stuff. The Idaho Dispatch, which is an alternative. Here is this the Idaho Dispatch? Yeah, here's the Idaho Dispatch, which ran the article: "Canyon County voting machine accepts photocopy of ballot during a test. Another test scheduled for Thursday." There's a pretty straightforward headline that gets you thinking, "Oh, okay. Well, that was interesting, but I'm glad they're doing another test. Let me figure out why." It didn't tell you how to think. It didn't tell you what to worry and what not to worry about. But it was obvious that when the Idaho Press put out their article, that they knew it would make people get worried. And so they had to include in their headline, "But officials aren't worried." Gee, thanks for that. Well, we are worried. Judy, sorry, is that her name? I keep saying Judy, but it's Jody. Jody Arnold is worried. God bless her. She's the only Republican in the entire state standing up to watch over these tests. Incredible. What's the next clip? We got more on this. Go ahead, play another one. This is incredible. I believe Joe Alfieri had some questions.
Mr. Chairman, Jody, good morning.
Good morning.
On that logic and accuracy test in Canyon County, where the photocopies were submitted, what was the result? What happened? Was that system verified and used in the election?
Jody? Chairman, Representative, we had a hearing, a board hearing for the commissioners, where we discussed this issue, and they allowed the election equipment to be used after they found out.
Follow up? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And in the election where Democrats were voting in an election which was supposed to just include Republican ballots, what was the result of that?
I don't believe that anyone knew, Chairman, Representative, I don't believe that anyone knew this occurred. Okay. I only knew that this occurred because third hand, someone asked me to look into this for them. And so I did, and that's what I found out. To this date, I believe that the person that won is still in the position that they're in.
Follow up? Yes, if I may go back to that, the first part of that on the logic and accuracy test. I have trouble saying that. Did anyone go to the commissioners and protest the use of the equipment? Do you know if
Chairman,
anyone testified about that?
Chairman, Representative, yes, I did. And numerous other people did. Subsequently, High Desert Republican Women made a resolution to it, and also District 23, Canyon County area, also made a resolution to it. And to this day, it has not really been addressed.
Final questions, sir?
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Jody, what type of equipment was that? Who was the hardware manufacturer?
It is Hart.
Hart. Thank you.
Oh, okay. But officials aren't worried. Nobody's worried about it. They just kept the machines. Nobody did anything, and they went on with the election. It's March 25th. Did the Idaho Press follow up? What happened? I Googled, I couldn't find anything. It just come on. It's mind-blowing, people. It's mind-blowing. So she comes and testifies in March about something that happened in October of last year, where the machines were running through photocopied ballots without problem. Oh my goodness. But the press, the Idaho Press, MSN.com, officials have no worry. Unbelievable. I want to play this one more clip. Should we play the crane clip first or Joe's next clip? Let's do the crane clip, and then I believe Representative Joe Alfieri is joining us. So let's play this crane clip real quick, so that way we can get a little bit more meat on the bone, and then we'll bring in Representative Alfieri, who joins us. So let's watch this clip.
Questions for you. To Jody's question, the e-poll book audit, why is that not included in this legislation?
Mr. Chairman, really because this chapter and section relates to voting equipment. It doesn't relate to the e-poll books. And so not to say there isn't merit for us to look at how we do that. We do test the e-poll books, but it's not as clearly defined as it is for the voting equipment. I welcome a further conversation on e-poll books.
So maybe legislation coming in the future. Second question is the issue that she raised versus the Democrats voting and the Republicans. I'm sure you're familiar with that issue. Did your office get involved in that? Did you do an investigation? And if so, what was the results?
Mr. Chairman, the issue that she specifically referred to, I am familiar with it. It was under Secretary Denny that it occurred. So I'm familiar with it on the back end, just like Ms. Arnold is. The issue was there was an error in the May primary in 2022 in Fremont County. And I think it was the certification of candidates is where the original error occurred. But it was close enough. Fremont County is a very small county. So the results were close enough that a new election was ordered to happen in August. And so the specific issue was the e-poll book had not been set up for a primary election because it was an August election when it should have been. And so that's at the core of the problem. I know that election was scrutinized closely after the fact, but it shouldn't have happened, in all honesty. So I'm familiar with it and have used that as a learning lesson as we move forward.
Good. Thank you.
What is going on? Folks, what is going on? So Fremont County used a non-primary roll book for a primary election, and Democrats were allowed to just come in and vote? I mean, that's what I'm hearing here. And then of course you got the photocopies being used in Canyon County. And then Phil McGrain said that poll books aren't voting equipment. I'm sorry, isn't an e-poll book voting equipment? If you have to, as a voter, it may not be the place where you actually vote, but if the only way to vote is to first go through the e-poll book and sign in, that's voting equipment in my estimation. Representative Joe Alfieri is joining us from Coeur d'Alene, District 4, a warrior when it comes to election integrity issues. And please, thank you for joining us. What was going on in the committee today? I felt like there was bombshell after bombshell going on. What?
Yeah, I agree with you. Hi, Matt. Good to see you again. The bombshell, of course, was the Canyon County testimony from Jody Arnold and the acknowledgement from the Secretary of State that it happened. I mean, this is huge because what happened. I'm just joining you, so I'm not sure how much you've covered. But I heard rumors of this several months ago that Canyon County had run photocopies during its certification process, and the photocopies had been accepted, but I had never been able to actually get that verified. So now we've got that verified. So we now see the potential problem of what this hardware can be manipulated to do, which is to accept ballots that are invalid ballots. And that's apparently what happened in Canyon County. And the fact that they went ahead and held the election with equipment that had failed the logic and accuracy test is astounding. It's astounding. It should scare the heck out of every one of us in this state and across the country, frankly. This is huge news.
It is. And I remember following this at the time and wondering what they were going to do about it. And then the news sort of just kind of filtered away. And I believe the commissioner of Canyon County, or the clerk of Canyon County, recently resigned, not in relation to this per se, perhaps, not at least not publicly, but that position, that person left. And that's fascinating. But and then in Fremont, was I correct in hearing in Fremont they used a non-primary role?
Yes, for the polls, using the poll book. Yeah, they had a non-primary role, and that allowed Democrats to come in and vote in an election when they shouldn't have been voting. Yeah.
This is the first I'm hearing of it. When did that happen?
Well, Matt, but we know that there are no election issues in Idaho because we do it all perfectly.
Joe, you're a comedian tonight, all weekend.
We're not talking about necessarily criminal activity. I don't think that that's what's going on. But there are enough errors and there are enough problems that exist. We need to tighten this up far beyond where we are. And frankly, this is a decent bill. S1394 is a decent bill. It does several things that we need to get done. But it's not complete. I'm concerned about the fact that poll books are not considered as something that needs to be audited and are not, can be connected to the internet. We know that they can.
Yeah, and they're voting equipment. I mean, if you need them to be able to process somebody in order to vote, to me that's voting equipment.
Exactly. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Of course, I kind of like these this kind of stuff here. Where you write your name. That's a good poll book as well, which we used to use. You go now. You took a person who knows you, right, and looks at your identification, and doesn't match it across a electronic signature, which we know is so incredibly inaccurate. There's no way an electronic signature is close enough to your real signature. We all know that. We've all signed documents electronically. It looks nothing like what we normally sign on paper. So that's another issue. We made significant progress in this hearing this morning by pointing out these problems, which we can now follow up on.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, these bombshells being mentioned and referred to and acknowledged as true was definitely powerful this morning. They weren't just rumors or press releases or they weren't just. These are real things, and it sounded like Brent Crane was ready to hopefully hear them get addressed, and hopefully you guys, it's an election year, so hopefully you all return to address this kind of stuff. But when I say it's an election year now, and we have all these problems, what happens if you're in Kootenai County, I'm in Kootenai County. What happens if Kootenai and this is a what if? It's a hypothetical. Yes. What if that day the non-primary roles end up on the e-poll books? Uh-huh. How would we know? Who's going to fix it? Yep. I mean, if it was a mistake in Fremont, it could be a mistake in Kootenai County or in Ada County or anywhere else. Joe, go ahead.
Matt, that there are bad actors out there.
Sure.
We know that. We've seen it all across the country. What's gone on in Arizona and some of the other states. So those folks are out there. So far, we think they haven't gotten to us. We don't know for certain.
Yeah. You don't know until you find them. Yeah. So you attended the GOP caucus, I imagine, on March 2nd. Did you attend your caucus for president?
I did. Yes. I
all right. So
420.
Fantastic. So what the process there? Walk us through that process and why that couldn't work across the board.
Well, to go to the bottom line, it absolutely could work across the board. After the caucus, I spoke with the Secretary of State, and he said, "Yeah, but that's just one issue, one ballot. But each ballot would be counted at the precinct level, So you're close to that one issue, one ballot. You might have several, but it's at the precinct level. So you're not including 160 different voting issues, which is what happens in Kootenai County. I know our county has many districts, taxing districts, as well as people that are running for elections. So you have a fairly complicated ballot, but not at the precinct level. At the precinct level, it's a fairly simple ballot. And that's what we saw in the caucus. In the caucus, people came in. Some of them brought their voter registration card or the postcards that were mailed to them. They showed their identification at the proper precinct, and they were handed a ballot, as you're showing on the screen right there, and they voted. And we had all the election done within, I guess it was about 2 hours. We were done in about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it worked very quickly, very easily, and it was open to the public. Everyone could watch.
Yeah, look at those folks. They're just sitting around there watching everything. Yeah.
Exactly. You could watch the ballot count. You saw the empty box at the beginning to show that there were no votes in there. So, that's the way it ought to go. We really need
to borrow a phrase, this is what democracy looks like. Transparency.
No, this is what a representative republic looks like.
There we go. Absolutely. This is what a representative republic looks like. Excellent. All right. Well, Representative Alfieri, thank you for joining us. I know all in all, this bill passed committee this morning with a do pass recommendation. So it is a good start, like you said. So we support this bill going forward in terms of election integrity.
It's a good bill. It's a good bill. It's not a perfect bill, but it's a good bill. So I did vote for it. It passed the committee. It'll go to the floor this week because I think I'm hoping we're going to wrap up this week. And it should go through.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, we have your info scrolling there on the bottom, joeforidaho.com, and at X at Joe for Idaho. Anywhere else that people can follow you?
Well, you've got Facebook and you've got my website. So that's it. Yeah, that's it. You've got it all.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Joe. Thanks for joining us. Representative Joe Alfieri, everybody. My pleasure. See you. Have a great week.
You too. Bye.
All right. Oh, man. What are we going to do, folks? What are we going to do? You have to be engaged. Oh, please share this episode. We're going to have to break this episode up into 2 parts. We're going to have 2 parts because, you send out this episode about elections and you get bombarded with pornographic material in the library. I'm sorry, there is no porn in the library, right? Right?
I think we
guys?
agree there's no pornography in the library.
You're right. Sorry. We agree. All right, folks, check it out. IdahoSignal.com has t-shirts. We have a very limited supply, and I'm going to tell you how to do this. Limited supply. For a $35 donation, you can get one of these shirts. And I say limited supply because we have a very small supply. This was kind of like a test run. We wanted to check these shirts out, see how they looked, see how they feel, see how they fit. And for $35, we'll send you a t-shirt. And when I say limited supply, I mean like the first 5 people. We'll do this in batches of 5. Does that sound limited enough? It's Idaho. We're not broadcasting across the entire United States. So the first 5, we're going to start with 5. We'll do batches of 5 because we have different sizes too, right? That's the thing. We got all sorts of different sizes. We got smalls, we got mediums, we got larges, we got extra large. That's what I'm wearing. I'm an extra large dude. So we have a limited supply, $35 donation. Head over to IdahoSignal.com. Donate $35. And then I think there's a place there where you can add a note and just put t-shirt, the size shirt you want. And if you are among the first 5 people, you will get a t-shirt. Is that pretty cool? I hope so. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us today. This is most likely, you heard Representative Joe Alfieri say it there, this most likely will be the last weekend session. There are a lot of bills still outstanding. Outstanding. That's the word I was trying to for. There are still some bills outstanding that we hope get heard and get put across the floors. It's incredible. The mask mandate bill, prohibiting mask mandates, that still hasn't gotten a hearing in the Senate. This election bill that raises some huge bombshells. I mean, that's incredible. And then, of course, House Bill 710, which is going to the amending order. This library bill was sent to the amending order. And so they're going to make some amendments to it. And then after they do that, it's got to go back to the House, and the House has to agree to that amendment. So this is going to be a very busy week as they negotiate these final bills. All right, folks, we got some outro music playing. We're just getting better. It's the final week, and we're just dialing in all these bells and whistles and stuff. We'll see we'll see how the rest of the year goes if we continue. I don't know if you guys know this, but this show is meant to just be on during session when all the action is. So head over to idahosignal.com. We just had it up on the screen, and then you can get yourself a Thanks for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow for more of what's happening in Idaho. See you next time.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.